I uh, I know I look a little intimidating, but you should know that there's a small young boy in such need of love and affection tied up in my basement. But he's okay over there. He's got everything he needs. Unlike a lot of people here tonight. A lot of people here don't have what they need. You keep wondering when you're going to be happy. Is it now? Or is it now? It's neither. You're not happy. Stop fighting it. Just accept that you're not happy right now. See? See how much happier you just got? Sometimes the happiest seeming people are actually the saddest. For example, last week I actually found out my life coach killed himself. I repeat, my life coach killed himself. I still can't tell if that was part of the training. It was sad, you know. All the signs were there, as they say. He kept trying to speak to me. God, he even had the rope with him. He kept trying to tell me, je suis plus capable, je suis plus capable. But because the bar was so loud and because of the rope, what I understood was escalade, escalade. I was at a rock gym when I heard the news. I even went to the funeral. But I think it was strange that I went, seeing as I was essentially his only customer in a failed life coach / blood-sucking charlatan venture. But I think it was even weirder when I made a noise during the ceremony. You see, it was during the funeral that I realized what had happened. I realized he hadn't been saying escalade, escalade, but rather je suis capable, je suis capable. So, of course, when I realized that fact, I went like, oh, which is a very strange noise to make during a funeral. And knowing I needed to sell this in whatever way, shape, or form that I could, I decided to transform the sound into something a little bit like, oh. But I think that just looked fake because we weren't that close. Looking around, I could see a sea of disapproving faces looking back at me. I knew I needed to get the hell out of there, so I got up, walked right in the middle of the aisle to get to the door, but because I just can't quite help myself, right as I got to the door, I turned towards everyone and I went, finalement, t'étais peut-être pas si life coach que ça. Comment tu peux coacher ma vie quand tu peux même pas survivre la tienne, man? Ladies and gentlemen, I can still hear the booze ringing in my head. Delicious. I love getting booed. Seriously. I love it so much. You can boo me right now if you want. Go ahead, type it in the chat. Boo me. I won't hear it, but I'll imagine it. Go ahead. 3, 2, 1. Boo. So my name's Bill. Bill Black. Bill Black. When I was young, the other kids would be like, Bill Black? But you're not black. That's how white Quebec City was in the late 90s. Who am I kidding? It's still just as white. Bill Black? But you're not black? No, Jérémy. Your name is Jérémy Roy, but you live in Les Saules. Clearly, you and I were not marketed very well. Oh, pour ceux qui comprennent juste le français ce soir, je crois que la chose à retenir, à comprendre, c'est de savoir que moi, vu que je suis ce qu'on appelle un anglophone, quand j'écoute un film ou une série Netflix avec une femme, à moins que ce soit un film français ou un film québécois, je refuse. Je refuse d'écouter quoi que ce soit sans qu'elle me suce. If you didn't understand that, good. It's probably for the best. Maybe you are wondering why this show is in English in the first place. After all, I speak French. You probably at least understand French. So what gives? And the answer to that is, and this is very, very important, parce que je m'en calisse. Je m'en calisse, s'il vous plaît. I probably wouldn't date a girl who doesn't at least understand English, so why would I attempt to build a fan base around people who don't either? Now, I know that might sound elitist, and I've worried about that a very, very long time, but I've come to realize you have to pick your battles. And mine ended after the second referendum. I'm sorry. I just won't relate to you all that much if we can't watch a movie together in VOA. You could be the sexiest woman alive. I'm not watching Ferrovipat. Anybody in the chat? Anybody want to guess what Ferrovipat is? Ferrovipat is the French translation of a movie called. Anybody? Anybody have any guesses? Ferrovipat, right? Ferrovipat is the French translation of the movie Trainspotting. Listen, I can't do it. I can't do it. It'll kill me. Just like that baby. But listen, I wouldn't mind being proven wrong, though. Theoretically, I could meet someone who doesn't understand me, have some sort of unspoken, universal, possibly forbidden type love, but do I really want it to happen with a girl from Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu? I'd rather us not understand each other at all than live in a world where all I hear in the morning is Ah ouais, lève-toi! Faut aller cueillir des Arabes! Des Arabes! Faut aller cueillir des Arabes! Things were a little bit different for me growing up. I didn't watch Watatatao. I did catch a few episodes of Ramdam. I do regret not having watched in Galaxie Près de Chez Vous, but can you blame me? I mean, I was watching the much better special effects of Star Trek. You know, the show that the other show is a parody of. But as a child, I didn't know any better. All my little mind thought was, this show is in French, and the set looks like we could have worked on it in high school, and this show is in English, and I fully believe that this is a documentary actually shot in space. And even reaching young adulthood didn't really help either. Because as a young man in my early 20s, I couldn't even go to BC to find myself, because once I get there, they were just going to be like, dude, what are you doing? No, I'm from Quebec. I came here to pick apples, look at trees, and find myself. You're not from Quebec. You're from here. Get up, get off the dirt, go inside, get a job. However, I'm not going to harp on people who only speak English. I mean, I don't particularly love English Canadians either. You're from Quebec? That's so great. I did the Explore program and I hated it. I learned comment ça va, I got drunk legally, and then I left. But I do love words. I love literature. I love language, which all helps explain, helps justify why I became a Cégep English teacher. But I got fired for having sexual relations with a student, which is so unfair. I mean, why else would I want the job? Certainly not for the money. The joy of educating youth. Please, they can find all of that shit on YouTube. But I do regret getting caught. You know what? I wouldn't have done it had I known that I was going to have to deal with her stupid boyfriend. I was finding myself in these ridiculous messenger conversations, just dumb shit like, bro, si tu continues à parler, je venais te décalisser, G. Tu sais pas avec qui tu fuck, bro. Décalisse avant que je te fends, bro. And that was just from me to him. And then, just when I thought that the coast was clear, other people start chiming in. A teacher lets me know they heard a rumor. The school receptionist looks at me a little too sternly. The basketball coach throws me a wink and a thumbs up. I was in trouble. So I had to vent and take it out on someone. The boyfriend. We set a rendezvous so we could fight. He wrote back to me, Toi, moi, parking. I immediately responded, On dit stationnement. Just because I'm your English teacher doesn't mean you can butcher your French. So we met up, and surprisingly, he actually ended up kicking my ass. Just kidding. The truth, the cold reality is that I beat the ever-living shit out of my student after having had sex with his girlfriend in the cégep I work at, and some people had the audacity to say that I wasn't dedicated to my job. I was very dedicated. In fact, one time there was a student who was having trouble with their paper, and it turns out their paper was a manifesto detailing how they were going to shoot up the school. I was appalled. I felt like I'd failed. I mean, they spelled school with a K. It was so embarrassing. I came up to them, I said, if you're going to do this, make sure you get me good, because I refuse to be a part of this. I may have taught a school shooter, but I'll be damned if they're illiterate. Let's see what's here. I hope we're ready. I found out I'm completely colorblind the worst way possible by working as a school crossing guard. Go ahead, children, into incoming traffic. At least the light eventually turned red, but so did the little stick man. My uncle made many posts on Facebook saying how he believed COVID was a hoax. I thought it was all nonsense, but you can see for yourself. All you have to do is scroll down his memorial page. They say the use of MDMA with therapy has a 75% success rate for soldiers returning from war suffering from PTSD. 75%. Wow. Now, those soldiers wouldn't have joined the army in the first place had they had grades as good as that back in high school. Speaking of high school, I saw a guy I knew from there recently. Man, this guy had it all. Captain of the football team, academic A student, prom king. Those are all the guys he molested. I'm never going to teacher appreciation night ever again. I used to love to volunteer for Opération Enfant Soleil. Brought me much joy and pride whenever I would dress up as a clown and visit the kids at their funerals. Okay, enough dark shit for now. Let's go back a little bit to the beginning. How did we get to this point? How did we as a society fail so much that I'm here now in front of you? How did I become the Bill Black that you see before you now? This may come as a surprise to you, perhaps even a shock, but I used to be a baby. In fact, I was the demonstration baby chosen at the hospital to show new mothers how to give their infant a bath. So, at just a few days old, I was taken, without my consent, might I add, to be propped up on a stage in front of the bright lights of the Jeffrey Hale Hospital, to perform naked in front of a bunch of strangers. I mean, doesn't that explain everything? Doesn't that totally justify why I'm up here right now with a little boy in my basement? You'd already forgotten, hadn't you? Literally the first thing that was said in this show, and you'd already forgotten. You're even worse caretakers than I am. Again, he's completely fine. Tonight he actually told me, Daddy, why are you performing comedy virtually? You'll embarrass yourself. But you know what? He doesn't know what it's like to take a risk, to be completely vulnerable, to be totally naked in front of an audience. Hold on a second. That's not quite true. Actually, I take that completely back. He knows exactly what it's like every Saturday on my OnlyFans. Oh, actually, I should acknowledge something. I know this kind of looks like a giant dick holding a microphone. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But I think it is important to take risks, to be vulnerable. I do believe in that. In fact, it's why I recently started this photography project where I ask strangers on the street if I can take their picture. And in order to really capture something beautiful, something magical, what I do is, as we're setting up, right before I take the picture, I always make sure to look the person in the eye and I say, Tilette. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, true vulnerability, it's worth it every time. Protégeons nos plus vulnérables. We heard that all the time. Me, I have no issues at all with the masks we're all wearing. In fact, I'm a big fan of the masks we're wearing because they make everyone look so much better than they actually are. I was on a date. We sat down and I was like, honey, put the mask back on. You speaking to me like this less than 6 feet away? Don't you see how dangerous that is for my reputation? Sadly, there was no second date. She died from COVID. People are weird about death. I realize that. We hear things like, "It is with utmost sadness that we announce the passing of our 98-year-old grandmother." Utmost sadness. She's 98. Look at her. What'd you expect? At that point, I have utmost sadness that she's alive. Poor thing. But I get it. People are weird about death. I understand. I like to think that I respect death. Now, I don't know if I'd go to say that I'd be able to cause death within others or myself. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do think that if I were to off myself, I think I could write a pretty decent suicide letter. The only issue to me is, where do you post it? In this day and age? On a piece of paper? Come on. Get that outdated shit out of here. On Facebook? It feels strange to write down my final closing thoughts on the same website that a bunch of Harvard nerds used to rank girls on. I mean, I know a guy who did it, though. He posted something concerning on Facebook. He wrote, "Goodbye, world." I was very, very concerned. I tried to help. I typed, "Where's your comma? Grammar is important. It's goodbye, comma, world, period, not goodbye, world. There's no world of goodbyes. Hey, buddy, you're the one saying goodbye to the world." But listen, he didn't listen to me. Because he didn't kill himself. He learned from his mistakes and he blocked me on Facebook. Look, I know, okay? People tell me all the time, like, "Wow, Bill, wow. You're such a grammar Nazi." And you know what? I disagree. I think I'm really just a Nazi. I even joined La Meute for a couple of weeks, but they ended up kicking me out because I was too diverse. So no, I wouldn't post it on Facebook. Twitter, that's a little short. 140 characters to sum up my entire life. Too much ego for that. Plus, I'd probably get canceled before my fingers hit send and my feet jump from the chair. LinkedIn, too corporate, too depressing. I mean, at least we'd know why I killed myself. Instagram, too bougie. Who do I think I am? Reddit, too anonymous and creepy. I don't want to weird anyone out. I got it. Tinder. You get to either swipe right or swipe left on my suicide letter. Now, granted, there won't be many matches, but the few who do are definitely in for something interesting. Hold on, he's completely and utterly dead? Super like. Speaking of being completely and totally dead, this pandemic has been interesting to say the least. I actually ended up working as a social distancing agent, which turns out fit me like a glove. I loved telling people that they had to separate. I was good at it too. You could even say I had a passion for separating people. I loved it so much, I even volunteered to do it in the offices of the PQQS and sometimes the CAC on a bad day. I'd go in there. I'd tell people they had to separate. They'd get all angry. I'd go, see? Not so fun now, is it? Not such a good idea after all. You know, this is true when I was young. When I first heard of the idea of Quebec and Canada separating, I imagined it was literally the earth separating, chasms forming in the ground, people falling through the cracks. Oh! Silly me. Now, of course, I realize the only people falling through the cracks are the people failed by the mental health system. Belle, let's talk. Oh, we'll talk. Once a year. On a phone owned by Belle. Huh. Wow, my friend just wrote to me telling me that this year in Quebec there were 28 deaths due to texting and driving. But with a little bit of luck, it'll be 29. Yes, these phones are dangerous and life is unfair, so you've got to be careful. I once knew a guy who was so glued to his phone that he walked straight into the love of his life, and they've been together since. So yeah, life is unfair. On my end, I recently downloaded Bumble again for the 8th time this month. I really seem to have this affinity for matching with francophone girls who put their bio in English. For example, Marie-Jeanne, 22 years old. Her bio, I will destroy you in the most beautiful way possible. Arrête, Marie-Jeanne. You've never said this in your life, ever. But hey, listen, you know what? The joke was on me because I was, gotta admit, quite turned the fuck on. So after she sent her little stupid monkey emoji, I responded, you want to destroy me in the most beautiful way possible? Go ahead. Maybe you should light up Cupid's arrow with the flames of your fiery passion. Send it firing into my sacrificial heart. Then, as the flames reach higher and higher, and the ashes and embers dance in a twirl of ecstasy, then perhaps one day our souls will be together for all eternity. Send. I had it in the bag. I could feel it. That little symbol lights up. Seen. Ooh, exciting. Very exciting. And then typing, and I see she's typing, and it's taking forever, an eternity, and finally she answers back with, Wah! Not qua, Quah! Not Quoi, Koi. I responded, Ça va? SAVA. She answers, Oui, toi? I go, No. She responds again with, Quack. Look, unmatched. Last time I checked, ladies and gentlemen, that's a pretty universal language. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope the stream wasn't too weird. It was a little bit weird for me because I was seeing sort of comments that were like late. So I hope it was all fine and dandy for you on your end. but this means a lot to me that you guys are here. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I really appreciate you guys being here. And happy Friday. Happy Friday. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks a lot. Means a lot to me.